some Asterix graphic novels in 3 languages. So I've got several here. Some are hardcover and some are soft. So let's have a look. The first one is Asterix, the Gaul. And here you have some caricatures, if you can call them caricatures, because the characters are already caricatures. There's Asterix. He's beating up a Roman. He says these Romans are crazy. So if you don't know Asterix, it's about a village in Gaul during the rule of the Romans. And they're the only village to have withstood or stood out against the Roman occupation. Obelix is Asterix's friend, and Getafix is the druid of the village. And he is the reason that these Gauls have been able to stand against the Romans, where the rest of Gaul has fallen to Rome. Getafix has a magic potion that makes them all very strong, with super strength. So Asterix, who is actually very small, is super strong. And Obelix is absolutely huge because he fell into the potion as a baby. And in fact, because of that, he doesn't need to drink any to be super strong. And here he's beaten several Romans. It looks like 3 he's got there under one arm. So let's meet Asterix and his friends. So this is Goscinny and Uderzo. And there we have Gaul, and there's one village. The year is 50 BC. Gaul is entirely occupied by the Romans. Well, not entirely. One small village of indomitable Gauls still holds out against the invaders, and life is not easy for the Roman legionaries who garrison the fortified camps of Totorum, Aquarium, Laudanum, and Compendium. So you can see that even the names are funny. And this is probably my favorite example of the bande dessinée or the graphic novels, when you could play with the language and grammar was important. And here are our characters. Asterix, the hero of these adventures, a shrewd, cunning little warrior. All perilous missions are immediately entrusted to him. Asterix gets his superhuman strength from the magic potion brewed by the druid Getafix. afraid, addicted to wild boar. Obelix is always ready to drop everything and go off on a new adventure with Asterix, so long as there's wild boar to eat and plenty of fighting. His constant companion is Dogmatix. Now I like Dogmatix's name in the French and German versions of Asterix, which is Idefix. So again, a little jokes are made with language. The only known canine ecologist who howls with despair whenever a tree is cut down. And here is Getafix. The venerable village druid gathers mistletoe and brews magic potions. His specialty is the potion which gives the drinker superhuman strength, but Getafix also has other recipes up his sleeve. And then we have Cacophonix, the bard. Opinion is divided as to his musical gifts. Cacophonix thinks he's a genius. Everyone else thinks he's unspeakable. But so long as he doesn't speak, let alone sing, everybody likes him. He's always been thrown out of the feasts and parties because his singing is so bad, so he probably would best have chosen another career. Cacophonix or Cacophonix. And finally, Vital Statistics, the chief of the tribe, majestic, brave, and hot-tempered. The old warrior is respected by his men and feared by his enemies. Vital Statistics or Vital Statistics. We can try and put a different spin on the pronunciation. Himself has only one fear. He is afraid the sky may fall on his head tomorrow. But, as he always says, tomorrow never comes. So this is the story where we first meet Asterix and Obelix and their Gaulish village. It's hard to tell whether it's actually in Brittany or the Continental Peninsula, but it's up in the north somewhere. And the Romans, of course, are all afraid of them after they find out that there's more to these Gauls than meets the eye. And there's Obelix carrying the menhir, the giant stone, and Asterix with the wild boar. So there's a lot of liberty taken with history here, of course, because we know the menhir, or the big giant stones, were not placed at this time. They were thousands and tens of thousands of years beforehand. And here we have the Roman legions, and Obelix carrying his big stones. Let's have a look at this in another language, shall we? Iter Gallicum, in Latin. And, of course, being fastidious, meticulous, they've included a list of vocabulary for one who's reading, or for students who are studying Latin in high school and would like to try and read. And they've translated the Latin in German, English, French, and it looks like Dutch and perhaps Spanish as well. Asterix is really a multilingual medium. Everybody knows Asterix, and everyone can relate to the funny things that happen in the stories. Here again we have Gaul, or Gallia, a Romanis occupata anno ACNL. So Gaul, occupied by the Romans. And anno, 50 BC, ante Christus. And we have Totane, minime, vicus quidam a Gallis in victis habitatus, invasoribus resistere ad hoc non desinit, except one village. Here are Celtae, Armorica, it's Brittany, Belgae, Provincia Narbonensis and Aquitania, and Lutetia, Paris, or what would become Paris. And our Gauls, quidam Gallorum Asterix heros noster est, qui subidae pericula, obelix inseparabilis Asterigis amicus est. And you can read the entire book in Latin, which is quite clever. If you're getting bored with other Latin texts that you have to study in school and you just want to have a little bit of fun, this is the place to go. Let's look at some more. So there we have Asterix in English and Latin. Asterix in Britain. The Gallo-Romance. Britain was made up of actually several parts, and these were all Celtic peoples after the Roman Empire receded and fell. I'm putting this in a bit of a nutshell. So now Britain, or Great Britain as it's known, was the main part, and Brittany in France, or what would become Brittany, was the small part. And that's why we have here in French Asterix chez les Bretons. So we have Bretagne, which is Brittany, and Grande Bretagne, which is Great Britain. So with the Celtic peoples, this was all one linguistic or cultural region after the Romans left, which is why we have the same word in French, but in English we have Britain and Brittany, which mean two different things, because we don't put the great in front of the Britain. But I digress. Let's look at Asterix. So here we have Asterix in Britain, and you can see what is in Britain. Rugby players, and they've taken some wine over there. And there we have our introduction about how this one village has held out. And now, a journey. These are these poor Vikings that seem to turn up in several Asterix stories, and they're not very talented at so many things. The Romans sink them. The Gauls sink them. So they're really poking fun at these poor Vikings. There's this one Viking ship that just doesn't do well at all. It's always sinking. Now we have Britain in Roman times, Hibernia, Caledonia, Britain or Britannia, and a few of the cities, Belgarum, Dubavernum, and Londinium, Clavum, and Camalodunum. Britain had often helped Gaul fight the Romans, so now that the Gauls were conquered, Julius Caesar decided to take ship at Portus Ictus, Boulogne, and invade the British Isles. Well, we all know how that went. But what's going to happen to Asterix? I think these Britons are very peculiar people. The Britons were rather like the Gauls, many of them being descended from Gaulish tribes who had settled in Britain. They spoke the same language, but with some peculiar expressions of their own. So actually, what happened was there was quite a lot of cross-channel travel, and many of the Celtic peoples that were living in Britain went to Brittany after the Romans left. So here we have two Britons there looking at the Roman fleet. Goodness gracious, this is a jolly rum thing, eh, what? I say rather old brute. Yes, so very Britain. The Britons were led by their chief, Cassivellaunus, but in spite of their gallantry, the Britons had some strange customs which were rather a drawback in battle. I say, old chap, think it's getting on for time. Time for what? Awfully sorry, we'll be back later. Where are they going, by Jupiter? No idea, by Mercury, letting us down like this in mid-fight. It's just not done. The Britons stopped at 5 o'clock every day to drink hot water. And there they are. Well, what happens when these Romans decide to come? Of course, Asterix and his Gaulish village get involved. Let's have a look and see what it says. En français, on y va. And there we have our third language, French. Lutèce, or Lutèce. And you can pronounce it like a Roman if you like. And here we have Provence Romaine, Aquitaine, Gaul, Celtique, Armorique, and Village Gallois. Let's look at the names. So we have Asterix, Obélix, and Le Chien, accompagné par Idée Fixe. Of course, Panoramix, the Druid, Assurance de Rix, and Abraracourix. Very long names. And I know my pronunciation's not perfect, especially while I'm whispering here, but you can see whenever the names are made up, they're usually funny. I find this a lot of humor. So once Asterix and his village of superhuman strength Gauls is dispatched to help the Britons against the Romans. All kinds of things happen. Of course, it's raining in Britain. And they meet this Briton who's helping them. Different adventures at the pub, darts. And I won't spoil the whole thing, but it does eventuate that Getafix realizes that these Britons need a bit of extra, what shall we say, gumption to fight the Romans. All it actually takes is for them to put some leaves in the hot water they drink, and this becomes their tea time. Of course, there's a lot more involved in this hilariously entertaining story. And yes, there's a football or rugby match. And lots of rain. And no, tea didn't originate like that. But we can pretend it did because it's hilarious. There we have the Roman legions and their wine. And again, some funny names like Anthrax, Petisax, Dunlax. And there's a lot made of that IX and AX in names of Gaulish people and places. And lots of fun made of the Romans and the Britons and the Gauls, so nobody's spared. We just look at the world and laugh. So there we have Asterix in English, French, and Latin. Let's do one more. This one is one of my favorite stories of Asterix. Asterix in Switzerland. And here you can see Asterix and Obelix with one of the mountain flowers, the Edelweiss, and a big piece of Swiss cheese. In this one, the governor of Gaul and he's got his tax collector and he's filling his coffers with all of the taxes and not sending enough to Rome. So Rome is getting a little bit upset at him. They're questioning where are all the taxes that are supposed to be sent from Gaul. Well, of course, trouble ensues. They send a legate there to check up on this Gaulish governor and find out why he's not sending the taxes. They try to do away with this legate by poisoning him. But this legate's not going to have any of this governor's nonsense. So he employs two people he trusts, Asterix and Obelix, to go to Switzerland and get a flower for a special potion to heal him of the poison. And that's where the adventure begins, because this decadent governor of Gaul sends a spy ahead to try to stop them. And that's where we meet this governor of Switzerland, who's also quite a party animal. And here they've all got pieces of bread on the end of their swords to stick in the fondue, the cheese fondue. But if you lose your bread in the cheese fondue, you get beaten by a stick. Here he explains the first time it's 5 of the best with a stick. The second time you get 20 lashes with a whip. The third time you get thrown into the lake with weights tied to your feet. And so on goes the party, whilst Asterix and Obelix are on their way to try and get the special flour. So this poor man has lost his bread a second time, so he gets whipped. And look, oh dear, a third time he's lost his bread, and the entire party is covered with cheese by now. It seems impossible to lose your bread in all of this cheese. Well, when Asterix and Obelix make it across the border, they find someone coming out of the lake. Guess who it is? It's this poor man who's lost his cheese. And they say, "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to get some dry clothes and go back to the orgy. What fun." And then we have Gauls and Romans, 2 different factions of Romans, trying to get the secret flour for Getafix's potion to cure the Roman legate of the poison. And as usual, all kinds of interesting adventure ensues. And of course, the poor pirates in the boat again, and William Tell. Every little story we know about France, Switzerland, England, Italy, Romans, it's all sent up in Asterix. So if you have enjoyed these bandes dessinées with me, please like or leave a comment. And if you would like to see more graphic novels, let me know, because I have lots of them. In the meantime, be good to yourself. Be kind to others.